Every battle brother within the Adeptus Astartes has been transformed into something more than human. Implanted with an ancient gene seed, they become stronger, faster, beyond the touch of plague or any natural disease. They can suffer wounds that might shred a normal man to pieces, only to rise and fight once more. Clad in ancient power armor and wielding the most effective weapons known to man, there are few beings in the galaxy who can endure the wrath of but a single space marine. It was inevitable then, that when entire armies were mobilized from such warriors, they became the most impressive and renowned forces in the galaxy. Of the 20 original Space Marine legions raised by the Emperor of Mankind, all have become famous or infamous in their own right. Although exemplary in every form of warfare, each became devoted to a specific craft or style of battle. It was for this reason that when nearly half the Space Marine legions turned traitor and the Imperium of Man was split asunder, there was but a single, obvious choice for which must defend the capital of the Emperor's greatest work. When the traitors who served the ruinous powers descended upon the walls of the Imperial Palace, they found the bulwarks, bastions, and trenches guarded by the finest of mankind's defenders, the Imperial Fists. Every Space Marine legion was shaped not only from the will and intellect of the Emperor, but the character of their respective Primarch. Genetically engineered transhuman sons of the Emperor, the Primarchs were intended to lead a great reconquest of man's lost dominions both on Earth and across the galaxy. Each was instead scattered across the warp by the machinations of the ruinous powers before they reached maturity, a desperate attempt by the gods of chaos to subvert the Emperor's plans. While the Primarchs themselves were lost to him, the Emperor preserved genetic templates, and from these he created the first Space Marines. While mere shadows of their Primarchs, they were still magnificent warriors, more than capable of subduing the tyrants who had drowned terror in madness and petty ambition. It was from the gene seed of the Primarch who had become known as Rogal Dorn that the 7th Legion was created. While many of the other legions recruited only from a particular source or territory, the 7th was raised from the whole of Terra. Only those with the greatest capacity for endurance in both mind and body survived their transformation, for the process used to activate their Primarch's gene seed was particularly excruciating. Campaigns against the cities of the Crystal Sea, the witchery of the Windcaller clans, and countless other techno-barbarian tribes imparted on the 7th Legion a particular method of warfare. To the 7th, mere victory was not enough. Armies could be defeated, strongholds torn down, beliefs broken, but still a conquered territory might one day revolt against the Emperor. To truly conquer, that which was taken must be held in perpetuity. In the wake of the 7th Legion's advance, first on Earth and later across a multitude of worlds, there arose mighty fortresses and new dominions. The 7th Legion's Space Marines were equal parts warrior, engineer, and Castellian. They brought not only victory, but newly ordered realms within which the Emperor's dream of a united humanity could flourish. These early conquests were described by onlookers as if the hand of the Emperor had descended and gripped with an unbreakable fist. This description of service done by the 7th Legion was embraced by the Emperor himself, naming them the Imperial Fists by personal decree. Exactly how long the lost Primarch of the Imperial Fists lived his early years while his legion fought on Earth has long since been lost in myth. Yet it was clear that the Imperial Fists' inclination towards order and structure originated in part with Rogal Dorn. Unyielding, idealistic, and honest at times to a fault, Dorn had raised the icy world of Inward to a capital of an interstellar empire. When the Emperor's great crusade to reconquer the galaxy first reached Dorn's adoptive home, the Primarch reunited with his father at the helm of an enormous starship known as the Phalanx. Immediately recognizing his father, Rogal Dorn knelt in fealty, bestowing to the Emperor not only his loyalty, but vassalage of the star-spanning society he had established. In turn, the Primarch was gifted the Legion created with his own genetic material, and the Phalanx transformed into the mobile fortress monastery of the 7th Space Marine Legion. Within the Great Crusade, the Imperial Fists achieved innumerable triumphs. Rogal Dorn, in particular, was said to possess the finest military mind of any of his brother Primarchs, ordered and disciplined, yet inclined to flashes of zeal and inspiration. The 7th Legion became the masters of siegecraft, whether on the attack or defense, Even the War Master Horus, first and most favored among the Emperor's sons, remarked that if he were to besiege a fortress designed by Dorn and held by the 7th Legion, the battle would become a never-ending stalemate. When Horus turned against the Emperor and embraced the temptations of the gods of chaos, the Imperial Fists were already on their way to Terra. The Legion had been named the Emperor's personal guard, and Dorn was in the midst of completing the Imperial Palace. His designs would be put to the ultimate test as the traitor legions descended upon the solar system, intent on destroying the Emperor and the Imperium along with it. The Imperial Fists conducted a masterful defense against impossible odds, making the traitors pay for every inch taken from the outer perimeter of the Pluto defense sphere, to the forges of Mars, and eventually to the holy ground of Terra itself. Together with their loyalist brothers in the Blood Angels and White Scar legions, the Imperial Fists put up a fanatical defense within the palace. But with the collapse of the capital's still unfinished defenses seemingly inevitable, Dorn and several companies of his finest warriors joined the Emperor in a counterattack on Horus' flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. The final confrontation between the Emperor and his fallen son echoed into eternity and sent shockwaves across the warp. It fell to Dorn to discover the body of his fallen Emperor and the corpse of his brother Primarch, Sanguinius. With Horus dead, the traitors scattered, and the Emperor's shattered body entombed within the Golden Throne, Rogal Dorn sought vengeance across all the fallen worlds of the galaxy. The Imperial Fists hunted down the remnants of the traitor legions, part of a merciless campaign known as the Great Scouring. Seeking to atone for their failure to protect the Emperor, the Legion besieged a chaos stronghold known as the Iron Cage. This was a hateful construct of endless fortresses and trenches defended by the Iron Warriors, a traitor legion that had always claimed to be the 7th's equal in the art of siegecraft. Only through the intervention of the Ultramarines were the Imperial Fists spared a war of attrition that would have ruined them. When he returned to Terra, Dorn was furious to discover that his legion was to be split into smaller formations, part of a new Imperial Reformation known as the Codex Astartes. With the specter of another great rebellion looming over the shattered Imperium, many thought the Space Marine legions too powerful. They were to be broken down into chapters of no more than 1,000 warriors, a move supported by many of the surviving loyal Primarchs. Dorn was initially not among them, only relenting when he realized his self-imposed quest for vengeance had blinded him to wisdom. From the Imperial Fists, the 7th Space Marine Legion, there arose the Black Templars, Iron Knights, Crimson Fists, Hammers of Dawn, and dozens of other successor chapters. Rogal Dorn, now master of the Imperial Fists Chapter, embraced all aspects of the Codex Astartes, retraining his battle brothers to its every dictate. It was in the first Black Crusade of Abaddon the Despoiler that the Imperial Fists lost their Primarch. In a fate that echoed that of his father, Rogal Dorn was last seen aboard a traitor battleship, leading a desperate attack on its command deck. All that was recovered of his body was a single fist, returned to the phalanx where it still remains. The Hand of Dorn has been the chapter's holiest icon, a reminder of the sacrifice and commitment necessary for the Imperium to endure. For 10,000 years, the Imperial Fists have been the Imperium's most stalwart defenders. Entirely fleet-based, they have eschewed a traditional chapter homeworld in favor of the Phalanx. It is from here that the chapter master and his command staff oversee the 10 companies, and the auxiliary and support units that currently comprise the Imperial Fists. Additional formations include the Imperial Fists Space Fleet, which can muster numerous strike cruisers, battle barges, and starforts. During the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy, the fleet of the 7th Legion was amongst the largest in the Imperium, and the lineage of that great armada can still be felt. While always on the move, the chapter maintains a network of fortress chapels on a variety of planets across the Imperium. These are typically garrisoned by veterans wounded so grievously that they are no longer able to fight at their full effectiveness. It is from these bastions that the chapter seeks out potential initiates, holding tournaments or even instigating conflicts among the local population to determine who might be worthy. Rogal Dorn famously said that he wanted recruits, not vassals. And so, these fortress chapels exert no political right over the worlds they occupy, nor make any demands of its people. Like most chapters, The Imperial Fists embrace combined arms in flexible, balanced battle groups, each capable of matching a variety of threats. While they do not purposely seek out any specific battleground over any other, the chapter is uniquely suited to the art of the siege. They are utterly immovable in the defense and able to pinpoint weaknesses and apply relentless pressure when on the attack. This single-mindedness has on many occasions, however, led to far greater casualties, with the Imperial Fists suffering losses other chapters would never accept. This has sustained the chapter's legendary reputation, but in multiple instances has nearly driven the chapter to extinction, most notably during the War of the Beast. In many ways, the entire chapter is still driven by the memory of their defense of the Imperial Palace during the Siege of Terror. Their martial culture is defined by the epic struggle between order and disorder, embracing ritual and ceremony. Even in battle, they are driven and focused, dedicated to fastidiousness and a meticulous attention to detail. This has materialized in the chapter's near obsession with scrimshoring, the carving of intricate details and patterns into bone. The Hand of Dorn itself has been scrimshored, with the heraldry of every subsequent chapter master, and many brothers wear the scrimshored bones of fallen comrades. They are also uniquely devoted to the Pain Glove, a steel framework that leaves its wearer in complete agony. New recruits might be forced to wear the Pain Glove as a punishment, while veterans employ it as a form of meditation. Through these activities, the Imperial Fists have honed their unequaled spiritual and mental endurance. Such qualities are needed in the defenders of the Imperium now more than ever before. With the fall of Cadia, an incursion by demonic forces on the soil of Holy Terror itself and the galaxy torn asunder, there is little doubt that mankind has entered the time of ending. It is a moment that Rogal Dorn must have known might come, for even as the ashes of the Horus Heresy still fell across the galaxy, he laid down the foundations for a secret order. In the event that the very existence of the Imperium of Man was threatened, if Holy Terror were attacked or even occupied, then the Codex Astartes was to be cast aside. By the command of their long-vanished Primarch, the successor chapters of the Imperial Fists would reunite, and the 7th Legion reformed. In doing so, they would bring the might of an entire Space Marine Legion unseen for millennia against any who might imperil mankind's dominance over the galaxy. The Last Wall, as this command is known, has only been activated once before, and the time may finally be right for the order to be given once again.
The Templin Institute investigates the nations, factions, and organizations of alternate worlds. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to join the Templin Institute, consider pledging to our Patreon page. Along with increased security access, you'll be able to vote in polls to determine future topics, get custom wallpaper every week, and receive some other exclusive rewards.